What if the small 1988 1-cent coin hiding inside an old drawer is carrying a story that almost nobody notices anymore? Most people see this penny and move on without a second thought. It feels ordinary, common, forgettable. But the strange truth is that this tiny copper-colored coin was born during a silent turning point in American history when the country was changing faster than most people realized. And somewhere between pocket change, gas station counters, and old family jars, millions of these coins quietly traveled through American lives without anyone asking a simple question. What secrets did this coin witness? Late at night, when collectors study old pennies under bright lamps, the 1988 Lincoln cent often creates an unusual feeling, not because it is the rarest coin in the world, not because it is made from gold, but because coins like this carry something more powerful than precious metal. They carry memory. The year 1988 sat near the end of a dramatic decade in America. Shopping malls were booming, television culture was exploding, music was changing, technology was slowly entering everyday homes. Yet while the world raced toward the future, billions of small 1-cent coins continued passing quietly from hand to hand. A child buying candy, a tired worker paying for coffee, a mother counting change at a grocery store. This tiny coin touched countless moments that history books never recorded, and that is where the mystery begins. At first glance, the design feels familiar. On the front side stands Abraham Lincoln, facing right with a calm but serious expression. His portrait had already survived on the cent for decades by 1988, becoming one of the most recognized images in American coin history. But look carefully at Lincoln's face under soft light. The shadows around the beard, the sharp lines near the jacket, the determined expression frozen forever into metal. Suddenly, the coin feels less like money and more like a time capsule. Then you turn the coin over. The Lincoln Memorial rises quietly in the center, surrounded by the words United States of America and 1 cent. To most people, it is just architecture. But collectors often stare at this design longer than expected because hidden inside those tiny engraved lines is a strange emotional detail. Inside the memorial, between the pillars, you can actually see the tiny seated figure of Lincoln himself. Most people spend their entire lives without noticing it, and once you finally see it, you never unsee it again. But the deeper story of the 1988 penny becomes even more interesting when collectors begin searching for mint marks. Near the date, small letters reveal where the coin was created. A coin without a mint mark usually came from Philadelphia. A small D means Denver, and an S mark points toward San Francisco proof coins made for collectors. At first, those tiny letters seem meaningless until you discover how dramatically they can affect value. Some 1988 pennies remain worth only a few cents even today. Others, especially in high mint condition, can sell for surprisingly strong prices among serious collectors. Perfectly preserved examples with sharp details, original color, and almost no damage attract the most attention because condition changes everything. A scratched penny forgotten inside a parking lot feels completely different from a brilliant coin protected for decades inside a collector's holder. That difference creates an emotional tension collectors understand very well. Two coins born in the same year, two coins carrying the same design, two coins worth completely different amounts. Why? Because survival matters. And then comes one of the most fascinating parts of the 1988 penny story: errors. Small minting mistakes sometimes appear during production, and these errors can transform an ordinary coin into something collectors desperately search for. Certain 1988 pennies show unusual details involving the lettering or design elements. Others reveal subtle differences connected to minting changes during that period. Most people never notice these details because the differences feel microscopic, but collectors notice everything. A slightly different letter shape, a tiny doubling effect, an unusual surface texture. Suddenly, an ignored penny becomes a conversation piece. And somewhere in America, someone may still have one without realizing it. That possibility keeps collectors searching through jars, rolls, and forgotten boxes year after year. The excitement is not always about becoming rich. In fact, most experienced collectors already know that realistic coin collecting is built on patience, research, and emotion rather than fantasy. The real thrill comes from discovery. Imagine sitting quietly at a wooden table late at night, slowly flipping through old pennies collected by parents or grandparents. Dust hangs in the air. A small desk lamp glows over the coins. Every date feels like opening another tiny doorway into the past. 1943, 1944, 1945, 1946. Each coin once belonged to someone else. Each coin traveled through another life. And somehow it survived long enough to reach your hands. That feeling is difficult to explain unless you have experienced it yourself. Collectors are not only buying metal, they are buying connection. The 1988 penny also carries importance because it belongs to an era after major composition changes in American cents. Earlier pennies contained far more copper, but by the 1980s, rising metal costs forced changes in production. By 1988, the coin mainly used zinc with a thin copper coating. To many Americans, that change symbolized something larger. Even the penny itself was evolving with the times. The weight felt different. The sound changed slightly. The future had quietly arrived. And yet most people never stopped to notice. That is the strange beauty of ordinary coins. They move silently through history while the world remains distracted. Presidents change. Economies rise and fall. Families grow older, cities transform completely, but the penny keeps moving. Sometimes collectors wonder how many emotional moments a single 1988 cent may have witnessed. Was it carried by a soldier? Did it sit inside an arcade machine? Was it dropped on a rainy sidewalk outside a movie theater? Nobody knows, and that mystery gives the coin emotional power far beyond its face value. Today, younger generations often overlook pennies completely. Some people leave them on counters without caring enough to pick them up. Digital payments dominate modern life. Physical coins slowly feel less connected to daily survival than they once did, which makes the 1988 penny feel even more haunting. It represents a fading world, a slower America, a time when coins still mattered deeply in everyday life. Maybe that is why collectors continue protecting them, not because every penny is rare, not because every coin is expensive, but because these small objects preserve ordinary human history better than most people realize. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden inside the 1988 1-cent coin. Value is not always measured by size. Importance is not always obvious. And history does not only live inside museums. Sometimes history hides quietly inside your pocket. So the next time you see an old penny resting at the bottom of a drawer, pause for a second before ignoring it. Look closely at the date, study the tiny details, imagine the hands it passed through and the decades it survived, because somewhere inside that small coin may be a forgotten story waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. And maybe, just maybe, that story begins with 1988. There is another reason the 1988 penny quietly fascinates collectors. Unlike dramatic treasures locked inside vaults, this coin still appears in everyday places. You might find one mixed with modern change at a local store, hidden inside an inherited jar, or forgotten beneath old papers in an attic. That accessibility creates a unique emotional feeling. The hunt feels possible for everyone. A teenager searching spare change can experience the same excitement as a professional collector examining expensive rarities. And every time a 1988 penny appears under bright light, the same question returns once again. Where has this little coin been all these years, and what silent moments traveled beside it before reaching your hands tonight? Maybe that is why people struggle to throw old pennies away. Deep down, they understand these coins are more than simple currency. They are witnesses. Tiny survivors from vanished afternoons, old conversations, crowded diners, childhood purchases, and forgotten roads across America. The 1988 cent reminds us that even the smallest objects can quietly outlive generations of humanity forever.